yeah. So, as you mentioned, you're a succubus, but you're also a teacher.
Yes, yes. So some people may already know this, but I am a teacher during my daytime job.
And what subjects do you teach?
So I teach English. I specialized in English as a second language. So that's what I do. I teach newcomers to Canada. So people who are like anyone who's a newcomer, immigrants, refugees, and yeah. So they get to learn English, whether it be like very very basic or there's a little bit of some more I want to say like above basic English as well.
Hmm. Is that something that you knew from a young age that interested you, be it to English teaching or both of those, or was that something that you sort of discovered about yourself along the way?
I think it's a little bit about a little bit later on, I would say. My true passion is art, but I feel like it was one of those situations where you know what you go into university and stuff, and then it's like, oh, well, I guess I could like do art as a hobby, and then I should think about like a career. But it's fun. Like I feel like teaching is fun too. I would say like the fun part is just like not grading stuff is not fun.
Hmm. Do you feel like your background as a teacher has impacted you at all as a VTuber, whether it be in just how you manage your time, how you operate your chat, or how you operate your stream as a whole?
Oh, that's interesting. You know what? I feel like I have a lot of patience. I feel like patience is something there. But I guess, yeah, maybe when it comes to like scheduling things, making sure, being punctual, making sure to come to stream on time, of course, so people know. Because I feel like there's, well, I guess with some streamers, they just kind of like want to stream when they want to, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like scheduling and being punctual is important. Let's see here, but I feel like maybe I can enunciate things better. Maybe I've had some people who have English as a second language in my chat, and usually if they say English is their second language, I try to enunciate things a little bit more clearly.
Hmm.
I don't know if it helps them, but I try.
And I know up until recently you were with a VTuber group called Spirit University, and that was
Yes.
an entirely teacher-based group. And unfortunately, they did close their operations just last week. But do you foresee picking up any of those more, educationally focused streams and incorporating them into your own schedule, or is that something that you feel was more just for Spirit University that you're gonna keep to what you've been doing on your own channel?
Oh, yes. I feel like with Spirit University, it was like a very fun like pilot project that we wanted to do together. We were pretty clear at the beginning that we were going to commit like maybe 3 months or so to the project to see where it would go. It was really fun. It was really fun to do it all together. But I feel like for my own channel, I like to do streaming for like relaxation from like after work. So
Oh, and that
I
it
kind
would
of
feel a bit too much like work, which, undoes the purpose there.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. I feel like when everybody comes to chill out too, I usually say to everybody, like, if we're in the same time zone, if you happen to just come from school or if you happen to just come home from work, it's your time to relax as well.
Yeah, totally understandable. So, when it comes to your streams, as you mentioned, you're an artist, so that is a big part of what you do. And, I was trying to decide if we wanted to do this a little bit earlier, a little bit later, but
Hmm.
since you mentioned art as a big thing and as something that was one of your earliest passions, I'd like to show off a little bit of your art. So, I'm going
Oh,
to
okay.
move us on over to the split screen area. Whee! Transitions. Whoopsies,
Ooh.
that's not the one that's supposed to be up there. Um, Spoilers, we're also going to be talking about some other things later. I had the wrong thing set, and I realize now also that I didn't set the video on this screen. Oh dear.
Oh, it's all good. We get to see Gelko. Look at her thighs.
Oh, don't worry, we'll be talking about those in detail. Let's see here. Who should we start with? Let's start with Shuna, and in the meantime, I will also get you up on this end as well. So while I handle that on the back end, if you could tell us a bit about this piece. This is from that time I got reincarnated as a slime, an anime that I'm actually actively watching, so I was really excited to see this piece.
Oh, nice. I'm so glad that you really liked it. I'm still not finished that anime myself, but I do like her. I think she's a really, really cute Oni girl. Um, I enjoyed drawing this one because I feel like I was able to do a little bit more for like coloring. I feel like coloring is something I'm really trying to work on. And I feel like this one turned out pretty good. I feel pretty confident about it.
Hmm. Were there any particular parts of it that were challenging or just really fun to do? Because obviously each piece is different, and this being an Oni girl, was there something about maybe the horns or perhaps that's not a... I don't know if that qualifies as yukata, but her robes?
Okay. I feel like something that was challenging is like, yeah, usually when characters are in a yukata or like, I guess it's like she almost has a bit of like a shrine maiden outfit, right? I feel like when characters wear those types of clothing, posing is really difficult to do because it's like, well, they either can just look really shy, but I tried to like do a little bit of like an S shape. I feel like characters are a lot like sexier when you have like an S shape, like if you pose them a little bit more like that. So it's kind of like just kind of like
Yeah, and so this one has a lot of pinks and reds, which obviously, as people can tell, definitely seems to be one of your favorite colors.
Oh, yes. I do like pink. Funny thing, even though like a lot of like there's lots of red in like for my stream and as like also in my character too. I'm a big fan of like blues and purples, but yeah, pink is really cute too. I feel like something that was really enjoyable about this piece is that I always love to work on eyelashes and eyes. Eyelashes and eyes are always fun to do.
And so, also for anyone who's watching, her art is made in super high quality with very large image sizes. I had to compress the heck out of this thing to make it fit, so
Yes,
warning in
sorry.
advance, anything that is shown here is not as high quality as it is. Please do visit her. She has an account on Pixiv. I'm going to be doing a little chat command right there. And you can see her art there in much, much higher quality. So, Tane, I'm sorry that I'm not able to display it as nicely as it really properly should be. But
Oh yeah, no
you're
worries,
working with
no
too high
worries.
quality for me.
I feel like what I like to do is so I upload everything onto Patreon, so then the patrons get like first access to everything, and then I upload it afterwards to Pixiv. So Pixiv also has like high quality options, but if it's on like Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, that kind of thing, then I do compress it down, so it's a lot more manageable that way.
Yeah. So you said you haven't caught up yet with Slime. About how far into it are you?
I think I was around like halfway or so. Still on the first season though.
We definitely have a lot to look forward to. They just finished the first half of season 2 last season. They're taking a break this season and they're doing, I think it's called Slime Diaries, which is basically just slice of life vignettes as sort of side stories.
Oh, okay.
And then season 2 proper will be resuming next broadcast season. How many times can I use the word season in a sentence?
Oh, that's really exciting because I feel like the exciting thing about like isekai anime is like it's kind of like a power fantasy, like with a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I really liked about this particular isekai is that it's a lot more diplomacy than action. Well, to say that there isn't action would be completely false. There's a lot of good action in the series, but what I really enjoy about Rimuru is that he tries to talk things out before he has to fight, and sometimes talking works, sometimes there's negotiations, and there's some really good just witty banter and dialogue that goes on. And then sometimes, you go up against that stubborn enemy who's not going to listen to negotiations, and you have to fight, and then you get the power fantasy in a more physical sense there.
Yeah, definitely. Just like what you said, like, yeah, he always tries to talk to everyone first. And I think there's kind of like that comedy aspect too, because it's like, oh, they're not listening. The enemy's just not listening to me. Okay, now I'm going to fight.
Fine. I guess I have to beat the crap out of you now.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next one we have is from another anime. If I can find the right one. Here we go. And I'll do the full shot that we have of it. It is Iroha from Magica Record.
Yes. So I really like Madoka, and I was excited when like the second part of the anime came out. I don't know if it would technically be like a sequel. It's kind of maybe like a spin-off almost because it's related to the mobile game.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
The
that
mobile game shut down.
Yeah, yeah. I played it for a little bit, but yeah, not. It wasn't like my main mobile game though, but it was still fun to play. I just thought that Iroha, she was really cute. I feel like this was like another piece. It was difficult to try to like get the hands in front, or sorry, well, her one hand to perspective. Just kind of like working on that, but
Yeah.
Still wanted to like get those thighs in there. So yeah.
For sure. And I also have the headshot zoomed in right here. So you put a lot of work into the eyes on this one for sure.
Oh, thank you. I feel like yeah, eyes are kind of like the thing that draw a lot of people to like the anime style, right?
Yeah, and I feel like over the past decade or two in particular that eyes in anime really have been revolutionized. That it used to be the shape of the eyes, and yes, they were expressive, but somewhere along the line with just KyoAni and a couple other studios really pushing the boundaries of how much sparkle and depth are in the eyes, that things really have gone to the next level. I remember reading somewhere an interview with an artist saying that more time is spent on the eyes than any other part of the body by an order of magnitude, and sometimes the amount of effort put into the eyes can almost match the entirety of the rest of a model.
Oh wow. Yeah, I can definitely believe it. I feel like yeah, just there's something that draws everybody to the eyes, right?
Yeah.
The windows to the soul.
Indeed. That, hey, it's where you're looking, well, usually, at least.
And I feel like I think it was like around the time I was making these pieces, I was trying to incorporate either like the hair color or like the eye color for like a little bit of like sparkle in like the eyelashes, because I feel like that's pretty fun to do too.
Yeah.
It's almost like a little bit of like a reflective like tinge to it.
Yeah, and then you have just sort of the oval where you can see that it is the actual light hitting the eyes, which creates that extra sense of, all right, it's not just them in a vacuum, that they are in a lit area, almost like you would have for a photograph.
Yeah, or like the light source and everything.
Yeah. Was this something that you've had to iterate on, or is it something that, you picked up and realized, oh, I actually have a bit of a knack for this?
Like for like art in general, or
Focusing on eyes right now, but I would say art in general.
oh, okay then. I feel like when I was younger, I was doing it kind of like, yeah, like more of a hobby. But I feel like the fascination with like Sailor Moon and like lots of anime that I was watching later, I wanted to, I don't know, there's just something about anime as escapism when like you're younger, I guess. But I feel like when it came to like digital art, I did a little bit of it in high school, but I just kind of like dabbled with like a very simple Wacom bamboo tablet. But the thing is though, I feel like around like the early 2000s, there was no really like tutorials or anything to help out artists.
Yeah,
but,
digital art as a whole was very new territory.
Gosh. Yes, but I feel like nowadays, like there are so many like YouTube like speed paints and step-by-step things for how to do on Twitter. There's a lot of artists who give information for like free accessible like stuff as well, and there's just so many resources out there. It's actually it can be overwhelming sometimes, but it kind of just like depends what you want to do. And I feel like I wanted to take digital art seriously. I think it was around like 2017. It was like near the end of 2017. I was thinking like, okay, this is what I want to get good.
And as you mentioned, you do have a Patreon. I completely forgot to include that link on this.
Oh, okay.
If you can actually send it to me in Discord, I'll make sure it gets into the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. Sounds good.
So for Madoka Magica as a whole, that's a series that has come up with multiple guests of mine in the past. It's a series I've seen. I have not seen Magica Record, but I have seen the original as well as the Rebellion film, which, oh boy, Rebellion.
Homer did nothing wrong.
Did you hear that we're finally going to get a fourth film?
Oh, yes, I think I did hear something about that. I would love to see where they go with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like going to continue on for after what happens with the third movie, but that's going to be very thrilling to see.
Yeah, for sure. It was something that, given the way that Madoka is written and given that it is a story quite plainly about despair, all right, folks, we're going to go into some spoiler territory here because Rebellion's been out for, 5 years now? So...
I was going to say, even with, like, the base anime, right? Madoka has been out for, like, more than 10 years, I think, at this point.
Yeah, because the announcement of the next movie was for its 10-year anniversary, and the film came out somewhere around there.
Madoka was 2011. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah. So, bottom line is, at the end of Rebellion, Madoka is kind of locked away in a scary shadow universe, and Homura becomes just devil incarnate. It's dark stuff. It's a tragic end. It is a outright tragedy. And it's not what I usually look for in my media, but given the themes of Madoka, when I saw that, I was like, okay, I feel shocked because it was done in a very, very sudden manner. But it was the type of thing that when I stepped back, I said, I can absolutely see how and why the writers would take this approach and leave it as a tragedy. That said, I'm also actually very excited that we might not have a tragedy.
I feel like it was pretty bold for what they went with. Also, Homura is my favorite character, like in that show. So I was just thinking,
she
she
really
did
good
nothing
character.
wrong.
Like she's the most complex character in the series because Madoka herself is very simple. She's the protagonist. Yeah. She's pure. She's happy. She just wants everyone to, live good lives and for everything to be sunshine and rainbows, as your shonen shoujo protags will do. And she does that role very, very well without actually being too overbearing, in my opinion. I think she's, on that sliding spectrum of super chipper protagonists. She plays it well and has her own moments of weakness. That said, Homura just has more depth.
She does, because I feel like she starts off pretty normal and everything, but then she realizes the tragedies that everyone has to go through being a magical girl, right? And then Madoka is basically her world. It was kind of funny because when I was doing Spirit University, I think we were doing thesis statements, and I was trying to convince everyone that villains are a lot more interesting than protagonists or heroes, because it's with heroes, if you're ever in a relationship with a hero, maybe in a series, you're always going to be number two because the
number
hero
one
has
is
to
justice.
save the world. Yes. But if you maybe if a villain is ever interested in you, you're always going to be number one because they'll throw away the world for you.
Oh yeah that I definitely enjoy villain characters. Just they get better lines, they usually have more fun VA work, just listening to the performances. And yeah, they also just get cooler outfits.
Yes. Which is kind of a fun thing about villains. They're usually very flamboyant and they're very colorful, both in character but also in outfits as well. For
sure. And with Madoka and with Homura, that you get to see her go through all of this, and there's, I think it's episode 10 or 11 in the original series where you finally get the juxtaposition and realize that the opening song isn't about Madoka, it's about Homura.
Oh yeah, it's quite a ride. Madoka is a ride.
Oh yeah, it's a classic for a reason. It gave rise to an entire subgenre. Many have tried to replicate what Madoka has, and I don't think that anything has quite succeeded. Some have come close, but I think Madoka still stands atop that dark magical girl genre.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I think there was this one anime that I watched after, and I cannot remember the title, but it was a magical girl website or something
Magical Girl Raising Project?
I think yes, Magical Girl Rising Project, and then there was also another one I watched. It was just called Magical Girl Site, which that one was interesting because it was a lot more grotesque. But yeah, that one was quite interesting too.
Nice. I've not actually seen those. I just know Magical Girl Raising Project because I hear about a lot of different anime, even if I don't see them all. And that one has come across my radar a couple of times.
Oh, sorry. Yes, base Kaz. Maho Shoujo Site. That's the one. It was. Yeah.
Thank you, Kaz.
Yes. And
for the last piece of art that you provide me with, a little bit of Hololive with Marine.
Oh yes, I love Marine. She's just she's very interesting as a character on Hololive, and also like the lines that they get her to say. I know she's like still learning English, but her English audience is making her say very interesting things.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I feel like with this piece, I think I just wanted to show off like some more thighs and just kind of like a nice like ahoy pose for her.
Mhm. Yes, there's another variant of this particular piece where she is a little bit sweatier, shall we say.
Oh, yes.
Didn't
I
include
feel
that
like,
one, but yeah, this one has an alternate as well if you go visit Pixiv.
Yes, I feel like there's just something fun about adding like the huffy breath and adding sweat.
Yeah.
Whole different mood for a picture.
So was Hololive your introduction to VTubers? Because I know that is the gateway for a good number of people in the community, or was somebody else your introduction?
Well, I guess maybe when it comes to like VTubers in general, oh gosh, when did Keyta and I start?
Going on
2018? I think?
somewhere around there. I think that she's going on somewhere between 5 and 6 years.
Something like that, because I remember watching Keyta and I with my partner like when she was first starting her YouTube channel, and I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. I remember, so we were watching like Kizuna Ai, we were watching Kaguya Luna, which I really liked Kaguya Luna at the time because she's like a little drunky pants with her strong zero and she's eating shrimp all the time. And I remember there was some other ones like Shiro, and I remember there was Mirai Akari, and then there was like a few other, I think like indie people. I could never tell like for like some of like the Japanese channels starting out if they were like corporate or like indie though, because I think some of them were indie. I remember watching a little bit of, oh gosh, what was her name? Sana Nitori. She's like the one with like a nurse outfit and she has like an eggplant theme.
Oh, not familiar with that one.
Yeah. Let me see. Maybe I can even, let's see here. Sana Nitori.
By the way, Chad, I realized I never actually asked, is the BGM leveling good? I set it
Or
a little bit
Natori.
low just to be on the safe side, but hopefully it's still coming through because this is actually Tane's BGM that she uses on her stream.
Oh.
Oh,
Let's
that's
see,
cute.
Yeah, Sana Natori. She was like one of like the first ones too. I don't know if she was corporate or not though. But I remember watching like those ones first. And I was aware about Hololive, but Hololive wasn't as popular as it was back then, I guess. But I do remember watching Fubuki every once in a while. But I remember when Hololive was starting to get bigger, there was like those translation YouTube channels that they would translate clips of like the girls.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like everybody probably must have heard like Matsuri's like Band-Aid story.
That was one of the first clips that a friend sent me as well, and honestly, seeing that I was like, okay, so it's an anime girl who just talks about some weird stuff. Okay, that was one of the first that I remember seeing. It wasn't what hooked me, but yes, that one definitely has made the rounds.
Yeah, it was just really interesting. It was just kind of, I feel like Hololive was almost like a lot more relatable and approachable that way because like they had the live streaming approach, whereas like Kizuna Ai and some of the other ones, like they would, just
They were recorded
put out
and pre-produced.
Exactly. So it's just like putting out the YouTube videos. I feel like Hololive has a good connection with their audience that way.
Yeah. And also the
and
fact that they let their talents be not traditional idols, that Marine is allowed to exist, something that, in terms of normal idol culture, Marine would not be allowed to happen.
Yes, exactly. Because I think that's the other fascinating thing. People are aware that there's like a person behind the avatar.
Yeah.
So watching like Matsuri talk about like Dojin and stuff too, I was just kind of fascinated. I was like, oh my gosh, her company allows her to talk about this. So,
Yeah.
And I remember watching some of the other girls too earlier on, like Aqua and Shion, for some of the first few generation girls.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, seeing Hololive put out like more generations of girls later on, I was thinking like, wow, this is awesome. I feel like Kurone definitely stood out because she's just like so wholesome.
Yes, for sure.
I think Korone is still like a favorite of mine, along with like Coco, because Coco is Coco. It was really interesting to see her speak Japanese and English before her Hall Live English, of course.
Yeah. Now, in the
and
timeline of all this,
mhm.
do you recall where you, one, decided, okay, I want to be a VTuber as well, and when you began streaming with your model?
Okay. So I began streaming around, I think it was like 2018 or so. So I was doing streams on webcam. So I feel like I had like a lot of like practice beforehand.
Mm.
I got my avatar around March of 2020. I believe that's when it was finished. Funny thing, because we have the same papa. we have the same modeler. Face Cause, who's in chat right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, DD Mavis did our models. I wanted to have an avatar because I feel like it allowed me a little bit more privacy for like for teaching.
Mm.
Also, I've only told like a few people in my town, like maybe like very close friends of like streaming. I've never really posted like my streaming on like social media like Facebook and stuff. So it's kind of like hush hush with like some people in my town.
Yeah. And especially
So,
I can understand that as a teacher, why that would be very important. And especially since some of your art, nothing on your Pixiv account goes into R18 territory. But even so, I can absolutely appreciate why you would want that level of separation. But also, it's just nice to have that security. And I think that's part of what the appeal of being a VTuber is on a more holistic level, of just having that line that is a bit more explicit than what you have normally between being a streamer. And fortunately, I feel like, if anything, because there is the very stark understanding of, okay, these avatars aren't the real people, that people are subconsciously more aware that there is a real person behind the avatar. And I think that's, or rather, I'd like to think that's why the community, by and large, is so considerate toward the people behind the avatar. That I remember, for myself, like I mentioned, I had been peripherally aware of Hololive for a little while. I heard about Kizune some years ago, but really didn't look into her content. The hook for me was, as it is for many, Hololive EN, that I happened to be up because I work remotely and pulled up Calliope Mori's stream because she was the first to debut, and it was during that stream that I realized, oh, this is why it's popular. That for some reason, I didn't actually participate in that chat. I'm very active in Twitch chats. I've never actually done chat for Hololive because it's too fast, but there was something about the live chat energy of just watching the chat and the interaction that made things click for me. And that was my own introduction. But, seeing someone from Hololive post the first time, they'd say, I need to call off today's stream or whatever, and that instantly it's just a deluge of supportive messages. It's, oh, take care of yourself, make sure you rest, hope you feel better soon, we'll be here for you. And nobody, or very, very, very few people, I should say, are ever angry when a streamer or when a VTuber says that they have to delay. And at least maybe my perspective is skewed, but I feel like there's extra patience for some reason, at least in the VTuber community, versus what you see for IRL streamers.
I think so. I don't know. Maybe it has to do with like people being involved in like the anime communities too.
Entirely possible.
But I feel like there is like that patience, and I feel like people understand that everyone else is into anime, and that there is a person like behind the avatar. Yeah, it's rather fascinating. Like how you said, like with the Hololive girls, their chats go like just like brrr, like super fast. But I understand like why Hololive chooses their talent too. Like they're very, very talented people overall.
Yeah.
Let's see here. But I feel like with the avatar, I wanted to have like that little bit of privacy, just because I feel like with teaching, they're pretty strict. Like when they tell you stuff about teacher college, it's like, oh, if a parent ever catches you like maybe drinking out at a restaurant or something like that, parents can complain for it's the smallest of reasons.
Ridiculous. My mother was a teacher for many, many years, actually retired just a few years ago after it was between 30 and 35 years, and she had done everything
Oh
from
my gosh.
elementary through high school, and then Title I for about the last decade or so of her work. So Title I in the United States is teaching people, it's at-risk students who don't have special needs. Sometimes that can be in the public sector, sometimes that can be in private schools, and so she's really run the gambit from that. And she retired after, that good long tenure, and she got absurdly lucky she retired just before the 2020 school year, so dodged that bullet.
Ooh, okay, good timing then. Interesting.
But yeah, so I'm very familiar of just that line that she had to be aware of how she was perceived out in the public, and I can absolutely appreciate from your end why that is so important and how VTubing would be particularly appealing.
Yeah, it's just rather interesting because even for like the artwork that I enjoy, like, it's like when you look at anime girls, like you're kind of like either looking at the thighs or the booba and stuff, like that kind of thing. And I even like with my coworkers, I haven't really told anybody like what I like to do in like my spare time kind of thing. Like I keep my hobbies to myself, and I feel like it's like you don't want to tell the normies like what you're into.
Yeah.
Like when I say I like anime to them, they're just like, "Oh, like Sailor Moon." It's like, yes, like Sailor Moon.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure, let's go with that. Just nod and
Yes,
smile.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to
Yeah,
move us back to the
or-
main page just for a little bit. Like I mentioned, we'll be back for those figures later, but want to make
okay.
sure that your image is a little bit bigger since we're done with the art talk for now.
For sure. I feel like just, about the whole art stuff too. Like if I were to show my coworkers any of that, like I sometimes, like for some of my younger coworkers, I'll be like, okay, I'll show them something a little bit more tame, but I would never show them something like too risque. I understand like the time and place to, show people stuff.
For sure. But so while you are doing teaching full time and it's not public school work, that it's I guess, are you a government employee in this case, or do you work for like an agency or something that does these classes?
Yes. So the short answer that I tell everyone is, are you a teacher? Yes. What you teach English. But the long answer is that I work for the government. I work for the government for like language instruction for newcomers to Canada, but I also work as a youth coordinator, and so I help any of the parents who need stuff for their children to do or for their teenagers to do. Like we set up activities for them to do too.
Oh wow.
And I also am, oh my goodness, a language assessment coordinator as well. So what I do is when everyone is coming to Canada or coming to a new city, if they are a permanent resident, I give them a test and I place them into the correct classroom that is according to their language ability. So I do that too. So I do the teaching, I also do like the language assessment, and I am also a youth coordinator.
And somehow you still have the energy to stream some 5 nights a week. Like, I was looking at your schedule this past week, and I'm sure you'll be posting the upcoming week schedule pretty soon because you usually do Sundays or Mondays, and you have a full schedule. So I am equal parts impressed and a bit concerned at how much you do.
I find that if I'm not doing something, I just want to feel busy.
I can appreciate that.
But at the same time, how can I say it? I wanted to schedule things like into my schedule too, because before I was streaming, I was just kind of like, oh, I want to do art, but like, oh, I need to like schedule it into my like evening if I want to do it, because like, like sometimes when you just kind of like mindlessly scroll through like Twitter or like feeds of like stuff, and it's like, oh, I want to do that, and then I thought, well, then I should do it.
Yeah. And I suppose having that sort of forces you to keep up with your artwork and all this stuff that you want to do anyways, and it just I suppose also gives you people to talk to, because art normally pre-streaming era would be a very, very solitary thing to do, but now it's something that it can be actually social, which is really neat.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons when I was first streaming art. I wanted to talk to people and I wanted to like share common interests, like when it came to anime stuff as well. Just talking about like what everyone was watching at the time, that kind of thing. Um, but I am careful with my schedule too. I recognize if I'm ever feeling burnt out, like
That's
I
good.
recognize the signs. So oh shoot, I wanted to mention something else, but now I don't remember.
Ah,
I feel like when it comes to Patreon though, my commitment to Patreon is always like 3 art pieces a month, and I feel like that's doable for me right now.
hmm.
So I feel like Patreon's kind of like a kick in the butt to like be like, okay, you have to deliver these pieces, you have to do it. So
Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
But you've said that
It's
the ideal for you is to eventually be able to go full time with artwork.
yes, that is my intention. Really would like to do what I love to do, and if that's possible, I feel like I would like to build up an audience for who like my work.
Well, I think you're well on your way. You actually hit Twitch partner a couple months ago, and congratulations again on that.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really I feel like when that happened, I was just absolutely over the moon. I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, yes, that's like the first step towards recognition, right?
Yeah, that it's there's a lot of weight in that little purple check mark, and there's a reason why people push so hard for it. And obviously, it's not a life-changing thing like it used to be back in the day where Twitch only allowed in, very hand-selected, like a couple people a year partners, but it's still a huge step and just a milestone and a testament to the amount of work that you've put into your streams and everything. So it's still absolutely nothing to sneeze at.
Oh yes, I feel really happy. Like it's like a very like it's like an overwhelming feeling, but a very good feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would like to be confident that Twitch is like a growing website. I think there's something along the lines of 27,000 partners or something like that. So
Yeah,
um,
it sounds like a big number, but
hmm.
when you think of the user base on Twitch, that's actually, top percent or possibly less.
Hmm. I mean, I feel like looking at like Twitch stats and stuff, I watch like YouTube videos like for just like general streaming tips for like how to grow and like all that stuff. Usually, if you have more than 10 viewers on Twitch, I think you're in like the top. I think it's like 25% or something, like something around that.
Mm. Yeah, do you have anything that you hope to iterate in particular or, step up in the coming, whether it be months or weeks? You already have, obviously, really nice background image. I haven't even gotten to commenting on the background, but I've always thought that your background assets were just really cool. The aesthetic definitely matches the model, and the color scheme brings it all together very well.
Oh, thank you. The artist who I commissioned for my background image is Amorphia. I'll put their link in Discord right now.
Definitely, and send that
They've
to me as well. Make sure it gets into the YouTube description.
they've worked on some of the Hololive girl backgrounds as well.
Oh,
So
wow. That's some
yeah,
pedigree
so
right there.
they they do wonderful work. I feel like maybe like being an artist as well. I feel like it's cool to kind of like commission other people who are artists too,
Hmm.
because it's like we're all like helping each other that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Are backgrounds something that have ever interested you, or do you find that your interest is more based in character drawing?
Definitely character drawing and like illustration. Um, I would like to work on maybe like a dojin in the future because I think that would be really fun to do. But I've told everyone that I think I would need a lot more time to script it and
Hmm.
draw it all out. Backgrounds are rather difficult, but here's an artist tip that I've heard from some people. If you ever want to kind of like cheat with a background, open the game of Sims. It could be like any Sims game. Take screenshots, and you could trace it because technically you've made like your own background in the video game.
Huh. Never thought of it that way, but it makes sense.
Hmm. So that's kind of like a way to kind of like cheat a background if you want to like design your own.
Hmm.
It's a big brain move.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned that one of the things that you like talking with your viewers about during your art streams is anime and what people are watching. Do you have anything that you're actively watching this season?
Oh, Nagatoro. I'm watching that one right now. Oh shoot, what's the English name for that one anime? It's like I was alive for
Oh, I
300
killed
years and all
slimes
I
for
did was
300 years and maxed out my
yeah.
level. I've been watching that one as well. That is just The way I've been phrasing it is it's a wholesome harem that the main character is collecting just all these different girls, but they are building a family unit, not, fighting over the main character in terms of romantic affection, that she has these two characters that are basically their daughters. There's a couple that are her students. There's one that calls her sister, and it's just all very nice. The first episode ended with a really, really good message about work-life balance, which is the backstory basis. And like that really hit me. I was like, that's cool that they went there with it. I think I actually watched the most recent episode of that just earlier this morning.
Yeah, the ending of that first episode, I was just like, oh, this is so adorable, because it's like, well, she overworked herself, right? Like in her past life.
Yeah.
And then it's like, she just tells like the dragon girl, like, you know what? It's time to rest now. We worked a long day.
Yeah.
It's okay to relax sometimes.
Yeah. Goodness knows sometimes we all need that sort of forceful, no, you actually have to stop. Just relax. It is okay. You have done a lot. And you mentioned that you have a very good gauge on your own burnout level, and that's really just the apex of that type of mentality of being able to figure out, all right, when are you pushing that boundary for yourself? Because the boundary is going to be different for everyone. And it's being able to know yourself, know your style, and knowing your limits. And it is obviously okay to push yourself, that if you have a big project, don't get lazy, but knowing where to draw the line is very, very important.
Yeah, like exactly. It's like you got to keep your commitments, and I feel maybe for myself, like it's good to keep commitments for yourself as well.
Yeah.
But yes, always rest when you need it. Listen to your body, listen to your mind. Like, yeah, definitely like talk to people if you're feeling like frustrated and stuff, if you want to like vent a little bit, but maybe also ask your friends or people around you if it's okay to vent as well, if they're also dealing with their own stuff too.
Now, on top of anime itself, one thing I know you're really into is anime music, particularly the openings and endings. You've actually hosted a couple Name That Tune nights in your Discord server, which I have participated in as well, and I don't get as many as I'd like. Like, there's a couple people in those chats that are just on fire, but every time that I have a song that I know, I always get super excited. Do you have any particular favorites for openings and endings, regardless of what your opinions are for that show?
I feel like when it comes to anime openings and endings, I have like a soft spot for like the early 2000s to mid 2000s opening and endings, and I have a really like oh gosh, I don't know, just I have a bias for like the I Sound girls, so like Kotoko, let me see, hand tracking. Kotoko, Mami Koada, Main, Mount
Main is definitely a big name there.
Oh yeah, like those girls, like I don't know, there's just something about like their vocals, but also like everything surrounding the songs is like, it just sounds great overall.
Yeah. Do you have a particular vibe that you enjoy, like the sort of slice of life, big bubbly ones, or maybe more dramatic pieces?
I feel like it does depend on like the mood of the anime, but ooh, you know what? Recently, we've also been like rewatching like Slayers. Well, I guess like maybe for Crunch, so my partner, he's rewatching it, but I'm experiencing like the first part is like Slayers for the first time. Megumi's wonderful. She's so talented.
Slayers is
like,
one of those that I've heard enough about it that I know what it's about, but I myself have not actually seen any of it.
She sings the opening, like she sings the openings for Slayers, and she's like the main character, Lena Inverse, as well. It's kind of funny, like, because I watched Slayers, what was it, Evolution, and what was it called, Re-Evolution, like those ones, and I watched like some of like the like OVAs with Naga, but I never watched like the stuff that was like in between. But funny thing about Slayers, I understand why there's so many Chuny people, because like they cast like all their spells and they like enunciate like all their spells like before they do stuff.
Yeah, it's almost Magical Girl in that sense.
In a way, like, and I feel like for like Konosuba, like I think like Megumi's like
Oh yeah.
kind of like a parody of like Lena in a way, because Lena has like that big huge like dragon slave spell, and it like destroys cities.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like for Megumi, like when she casts like her like
Explosion.
explosions,
Yep, I
like
can
then she's
absolutely
just like
see this.
useless after.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, Slayers is I feel like I would have enjoyed it like at the time, like if I was younger, like, and it's really like very enjoyable now watching it.
yeah. Do you recall what your gateway to anime was? I know for a lot of people, it's something like seeing Sailor Moon on Saturday mornings, or sometimes it's Toonami. Sometimes you're lucky enough to have a parent that'll get you into it. What was your gateway there?
So it was definitely Sailor Moon when I was younger. I absolutely loved every moment of Sailor Moon. I thought it was really amazing with just like the art style. It had like a very interesting kind of like monster of the week feel, but it still had like an overarching story. But I feel okay. So in Canada, we had like this one channel, YTV. So that's where like Pokemon, Digimon, Dragon Ball Z, like Dragon Ball, like Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh, like all those shows would like be on.
Yeah.
And I guess those were kind of like the more like children's safe kind of like shows. I remember watching like, oh, let me see here. There was also Fox Kids, but I can't remember some of the titles. I think there was like Tokyo Mew Mew, but I think it was called Mew Mew Power. For
That
the English
sounds right,
title.
yeah.
I think there was also like Zatch Bell and Metabots. Like,
Yeah,
there was those ones
those
too.
were on Toonami if memory serves.
Mm-hmm. But I do remember, like, I feel like it was like into my teens. I really got into anime when it was like Inuyasha, Full Metal Alchemist, Fruits Basket, like those kind of like titles around that time.
Have you been watching the remake of Fruits Basket?
Oh yes, it's really emotional. I don't know if it's like the nostalgia or like just like the story writing, but it's
As someone who didn't see the original but has been watching the remake on a weekly basis, I can tell you it is definitely not just the nostalgia. It's probably hitting you a little extra because of the nostalgia, but it is also just legitimately the story because it's hitting me too.
Oh gosh, like almost every episode or every other episode, I get teary. It's good writing.
But it's like, it's a different type of teary because sometimes it's happy catharsis and other times it's tragedy, but regardless, it does not pull punches when it comes to emotions.
Funny thing about the first Fruits Basket, because it was made by like Studio Dean. I think it was like around that time of 2006 or like 2000.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
They did not finish the story, and they ended it on a really weird note.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That my little sister held Fruits Basket as one of her favorites for a long time. That was one of the first ones she got into, and I hadn't seen it, but when I saw that they were doing basically what I've been calling is sort of Fruits Basket Sisterhood a la Full Metal Brotherhood, where they're picking up because that's the exact same situation that the original FMA was in, where they ended it on a sort of a weird note. I guess the original FMA had a more proper ending, from what I understand, than the original Fruits Basket, because the original Fruits Basket, from what I hear, just sort of dropped off, and they had to rapidly tie things up as best they could, but they hadn't introduced half the cast.
It was, they ended it, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but they ended it around like that note where like something very intense happens to Kyo, and that's all they could animate at the time. So I was like, oh, okay, sure, but there's like way more to the story than that.
Yeah.
I think for like Full Metal Alchemist though, I feel like I've committed an anime sin. I feel like I need to finish Brotherhood.
Oh dear. Yes.
I
Yes, you do.
Yeah. But I do remember the ending of Full Metal Alchemist, like the first one. I feel like it was okay, but
it wasn't the worst anime created ending that there has been, for sure. There have been worse, but I am definitely in the camp of having seen both. I do agree with what I think is sort of the majority opinion on this, of Brotherhood being better, but that's also not a terribly surprising or odd take, given that the ending is actually written by the mangaka, whereas the original anime ending had to be written by the studio because the manga had not ended at that point. But
exactly.
Yeah. But the original was still fine, and it's not one that I'm going to say don't ever watch it, but if you have to watch one, I usually direct people to Brotherhood.
Yeah, I'm aware that like Brotherhood is a lot more accurate to the manga, whereas the manga wasn't finished at the time, so they had to kind of like wrap it up,
Yeah.
like however they could.
Yeah. But I will definitely agree and say that the hype is real for that series. I absolutely adore it. The dub for it is one of my favorite of all time. Problematic issues with one of the actors, fully recognized, but
Yeah, we don't have to get into that,
yeah,
but yeah.
won't get into that. But I will say that the dub as a whole is just fantastic, and definitely, I generally encourage people to watch the dub because I think it is so strong. But dub or sub, you're gonna enjoy the series either way. It's very, very good.
And I guess we were talking about like anime music. I feel like that anime kind of like around that time. Maybe I just have a bias because I grew up with like a lot of like those shows. I feel like that's kind of like the style of like anime openings and endings that I do like. But not to say that there's like a lot of very impressive anime endings and openings right now though. But
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah. But that's when you get the combination of good music and nostalgia.
Maybe just even for like anime opening and ending, like animation in general. Holy, the Nagatoro one, it looks like an AMV. It's intense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if, just given how long anime has been in the mainstream now, that we're probably entering that era where people who grew up making AMVs and the like are now on those animation teams or those video editing teams that create the openings and endings. So not unrealistic to think that there might actually be some of those techniques at play.
Well, because I remember for anime like AMVs, oh my gosh, like there was really intense like submissions for AMV competitions. Like, oh my gosh, all the editing that people would
still
do.
are. I, prior to COVID, used to go to a lot of conventions. I used to work a lot of conventions. I've been fortunate enough to work industry side and actually work for some of the licensors, distributors at their booths. And I, even during those cons, try to set aside time, if it's not during my working hours, to go see the AMV contest, because that's one of the things that you'll notice as you go to more and more cons, that there's a lot of consistency in the programming. There's going to be voice actor Q&As, there's going to be like not as big now, but back in the day, Hitalia Ask a Nation used to be a thing that was at every flippin' con. But no matter what, AMV contests are going to always be different at every con. That there's a couple of creators that do sort of a circuit run and will submit their entries to multiple cons. But like 80% plus of the entries at any given con are going to be unique, usually. And that's something that I always look forward to seeing. So hopping, I guess, to something that we can talk about anime in multiple ways, I'm going to go back to the split screen for a bit so we can look at some of the figures. Now, as we had up earlier, there is Galco.
Whoa, Galco, look at her. I think just like the anime for Galco, it was really interesting. They had just like 10-minute or so shorts. And I think there's something just kind of really interesting about gal characters. Like, it's like, they maybe look a little bit promiscuous, but they're cute though.
Yeah, it's an underused character archetype, I feel.
Yeah, gal characters, like, I don't know. It's just like they're gals because maybe they might be a little bit rebellious because of school rules or whichever. But like, they're just cute and wholesome most of the time.
Yeah. Now, you actually have a huge collection of figures. You taught me about a website that I wasn't aware of that actually has, that allows you to upload basically your catalog of your collection. Just drop the link in the chat along with your other socials. But I asked you to select a few of your favorite figures, and this was one of them. So what about this figure is something that stood out to you, whether it be something that made you want to purchase it or that you look upon it fondly, even if it wasn't something before you had it?
I think when it comes to this Galco one, it looks very dynamic. Usually for a lot of like anime characters, like they're just kind of like posing, but this one has like the stairs, like it implies motion.
Yeah.
She also comes with glasses, so I have the glasses on her.
Oh, nice.
let's see here. Depending on the angle that you set the figurine at, I feel like the first thing that everyone does when they collect figurines is you check the pantsu right away. What color are they?
I don't know if the image has this visible at this angle. I'm not sure. Can you tell the folks at home? Do you recall what color they are?
I can go check quickly.
If it doesn't take too long, sure, I suppose.
Let's see. She's just right behind me.
Hmm.
Let's see here. You know what? There.
Yes, hopefully you all are enjoying so far. I'm Jay. This is Vtuber Talk. We're talking with Tane Tenshi. She is checking, and she is back. Survey says...
they are white with like a tinge of blue.
And there you go, folks. We're getting the important details. This is the hard-hitting questions on VTuber Talk.
Yes, we have to always know what the pantsu are for the anime girls. Kind of interesting that she has the white ones. Usually white means she's very pure. So well, then again, I guess according to the anime, she thinks rather pure as well.
Yeah, I've only seen bits and pieces of Galco, but I know that it is it's a very lighthearted series, very comedic, and a lot of it is sort of, I guess, almost a deconstruction of Gal characters, and at the same time a parody of them.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to remember what some of the characters' names are, because I know with Galco, they just call her Galco, and then what was her friend's name? Because she's basically an otaku, like otaku. Let me see. And then they have Ojo, which is basically like a girl who's like an Ojo-sama.
Oh, so they're actually just using this very literal naming convention throughout the cast.
Yes, which is kind of funny. Oh, Otako. Otako is her.
There you go.
Yeah, so there's Galco, Otako, and Ojo, so they call them that.
Now, one of the other
it's a cute
figures
series.
brings us back to Madoka, and this is obviously one of the most fantastic iterations of Madoka. It is aptly named the Ultimate Madoka. Not too surprised that this is one that interests you, given the art that you showed earlier, that this is, the big sort of final form, as you were, for this character.
Yes. As much as I do love Homura, I'm still on the hunt for the Homura version of this one. But for this Madoka one, it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's really heavy.
Yeah, there were some of the pictures that were in the gallery that showed a sense of scale, and this one has to be over a foot tall.
She's wide. Yeah, she's wide and tall. It was a little bit difficult to set her bow and arrow as well, but her hair is very flowy. Her gown is very flowy. She's got Doka. She has the universe under her dress.
So I'm not able to tell entirely from this angle. So she's standing on, I can't tell if it's a segment of her dress or if it's supposed to be like sort of a crystal of some sort.
No, so her dress is the pedestal. So the dress is like the thing that's keeping her supported.
Yeah, that it's flowing under and then acting as the foothold there. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I always appreciate figures that are able to have their stands be something that don't break the immersion, quote unquote.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's just overall, it's a beautiful piece. Like it's I don't know what else to say about it. It's gorgeous, and it's really hard to pick favorites. I was thinking just with this one, it's even her little foot wings. I think they clipped in as well. Like there's just a lot of small parts, but there's a lot of like just nice details on it that make it really lovely.
Yeah. And the last one you'd sent me brings us to another anime, but also a game that I know you are very fond of. This is Jean Arc. I believe this is the alter form. And you mentioned earlier that you played Madoka Magica Record for a bit of time, but that wasn't your main game. Your main game is Fate Go.
Yes, my main mobile game is Fate Go, FGO, Fate Grand Order. I love Jalter. There's just something very interesting about the edgy characters, Jalter, Jean d'Arc Alter. So she's an Avenger class. So she's basically like the opposite of like Jeanne d'Arc. um, this figure was over $400. It's a nice piece. She has like her flag and like she has her original outfit. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I really like that. I am not good enough at image manipulation and compositing to create a collage like this. Fortunately, this was just nice and available on the site that you sent me, but it shows the various angles, and this definitely seems like another particularly large piece. Runes77 asks in the chat, dare I ask how much Tane has invested in her figure collection? I suppose a better tip of the iceberg question might be, how many figures are in your collection?
So there are over 300, I think there's over 330 figurines. Please keep in mind, this is a collection of like over 10 years.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. That you don't,
like...
This is something where, you buy a couple a year and that they add up and you maintain them and you display them. It's not going out and buying 300 at once.
Yes, so please keep in mind, like, I think it was right when I turned 18 when I got my credit card and I started like working part-time at Walmart when I was in like university and everything. That's when I started thinking like, I can buy things that I want.
Yeah.
At first I would start off with like Nendroids and stuff because Nendroids are pretty affordable.
Yeah.
I don't know about now. I feel like Nendroids and Figmas now, because they have so many more small parts, which I think is good now. Nendroids and Figmas didn't have as many parts like back in the day.
Yeah.
Which is good. I feel like if you do have like more accessories, I think that's good. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to ask my partner too, because like some of them are his too. Like when we like few stars together. So let me see here.
So one moment while Tane consults on this particular question rune, and hopefully for all of you in the chat that you are all enjoying as well. If you have any questions, feel free to post them. I can't guarantee that I'll ask them, but we will see as we go.
He estimates probably over 30,000.
That makes sense
likely.
Because you said that there's some 300 figures, and then if each is even $100, which some are going to be cheaper, some are going to be more expensive, that the multiplication there.
It kind of depends, because like I want to say like maybe on average for a lot of the Nendroids, usually Nendroids would be around like maybe 40 to 50.
Yeah.
Maybe each.
But then you have ones like this and the Gattaca figure are going to obviously be much more than 100. So when you average it all out, I could see 30,000 being about accurate. By the way, Big Daddy Shrimp, thank you for the follow. And Mark Ivy Warrior, Mark IV Warrior, perhaps, thank you as well. I missed that a little while ago. Are you at the point where you are insuring your collection? Because if you aren't, I would advise you to do so.
Yes, I believe, we're going to be doing that, because I think some people are aware about this. Anime figurines only go up in value. They never, like...
Yeah.
Well, okay, well, maybe he's giving me like a, but...
for the most part.
It usually depends if you have like the original boxes and stuff too, but usually if you take really good care of them, like people will be like, oh yes, like the figurine community really wants to collect things, right? So...
For sure. And this is, high ticket, high dollar price collecting that they, in some ways, like, you don't buy them to be investments, but they can end up behaving as such from a value standpoint.
It's kind of like those things, like, like when celebrities like open up like their handbag closets and they're like, yes, like this is like the collection basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is our culture curated collection of figurines.
Yeah, I know that the insuring of collectibles, doesn't matter if it's figures or trading cards or something like that, that it is a very particular way that you have to go about it, because there is not at least from an insurance standpoint, standardized way to confirm value, that you usually have to do it by hand and say, all right, this one's worth this much. And for the most part, most insurers will take you at your word and then calculate whatever payment is going to be, equal to the value. But when you get a collection that is as big as that, I definitely think that it would probably be worth your while to make sure that you have that covered in that sense. And thank you to Crunch
most
Bite
definitely.
Daimyo, I almost said Dynamo, and Alvin Martinez for the follows.
Hey. Also, Mr. Crunchbite, he's my partner right there. My partner in crime.
Oh yes, you've been saying Crunch this whole time. I should have registered that.
Oh, it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, so I guess, how do you arrange them all? Do you have a bunch of glass cases, or do you use certain types of shelves? I have to imagine with this many that you've put a lot of effort into the orientation and display of all of them.
Yes. So, with a lot of them, he looked into like IKEA cabinets. So they're in like these white IKEA cabinets with like the glass front. We were thinking maybe in the future it'd be fun to like maybe put some like lights in them or something like that to kind of like show them off that way.
Yeah, I've seen some like
too.
that. If you get good lighting, it can be really cool. It creates this, just
Yeah.
all the different shadows, and especially if you do like multicolored lights.
I think what we're going to have to do is maybe arrange some of them to put the shelving on like different levels, because there's like the Konosuba girls, like the 1/4 girls. They're really tall. And for the one that's shown on screen right here, Jelter, she doesn't fit either. She's way too tall.
So do you have her, I suppose, freestanding outside of one of the shelves, or do you keep her in the box?
She's currently on the very top of the cabinet.
There you go, place of honor.
Yeah. Yes, she is at the very top. And I feel like, for dusting off a lot of the figurines and kind of like maintaining them, we have an air compressor, and I also have like some makeup brushes, so it's very delicate to clean them off properly.
Yeah. Heck, you could get into museum curation with the type of skills that you end up honing, taking care of figures and stuff like that, because it's obviously not a one-to-one, but a lot of the types of care and tools that you use for figures are going to actually be similar for what you would use in higher-end galleries and whatnot, because it doesn't matter necessarily if it's plastic or if it's a precious metal, that the attention to detail and delicacy of everything has that overlap.
Yes, I've learned a few things over time too. I remember, I think it was Good Smile Company actually made like an official announcement about this, but it wasn't until like many years later. Don't open your figurines if you live in Canada, like when it's very like cold right away. Wait for them to kind of like warm up a little bit inside the house before you like open them.
Oh, geez. I'm guessing there's something with the temperature and just how the plastic behaves when it's particularly cold.
If it's usually like some of the posable ones, like an Android or a Figma, some of the joints could be a little bit stiff, so you don't want them to break off. So if it's for like those more like mobile, I guess, kind of like figurines. Posable figurines.
Yeah. Well, hopping to mobile and to Fate, like you mentioned, that's your particular game of choice. If memory serves, you were actually on a podcast that is dedicated to talking about Fate Grand Order. Is that a regular thing, or was that a special that I saw happening earlier this week?
So Emu Lapis, she's the one that hosts it. I believe it's like every Saturday, or maybe it's every other Saturday whenever she likes to announce it. She has guests on her channel, and she loves to talk about gacha games. In particular, we were talking about Fate a lot, but she's had people on the podcast who like to talk about like Genshin and other games as well.
It was, forgot to put the SO before that, so it's just EMULAPIS, no underscore?
Yeah, so Emu Lapis,
There we go.
she is a very good friend. Oh gosh, I think we met like maybe 9 to 10 months ago. We keep track of our friendship with our Twitch subs.
Makes sense, and I know you also have gotten some skebs together with her. Or no, I don't think that was a skeb. I think that was a piece that you worked on together. But there is art out there of the two of you, and we will leave it at that.
Yes, we had a really fun time doing that one. So we're very comfortable with like a lot of things. So we decided to have our VTuber characters swapping spit. Um, so what we did is we exchanged the art files back and forth with each other while we were live, and we set them up like together, and it was fun. It was fun. So Emu is also like a Fate Grand Order player. So when we met each other, I was just like, oh my gosh, like we're both artists and we like Fate Grand Order. Yes, anime waifus.
Hey, that's how just many friendships are born of it. You like this thing, I like this thing. Okay, we're best friends now.
Exactly. Also, she really loves Asanagi's Dojin, and I do too. And I was like, "Hey, girl, let's talk about Asanagi." So just to let everyone know, if you share waifus and you share a love for Dojin, friendship is born.
Hey, I've seen friendship from less. So actually, if memory serves, the channel point system, or currency rather, on your channel is the in-game currency from Fate Go. That it's I'm blanking on the name of it.
The Saint Quartz. Yes.
Saint Quartz. I was like quartz crystals. No, it's not that. It's something with quartz though. So.
Yeah, I thought it would be like a nice like little placeholder, especially for like the channel points. I was thinking about changing it, but I think it's pretty cute for the time being. When I first started streaming on Twitch, I had Fate Grand Order emotes that I drew myself, but I've swapped them out for my VTuber ones currently. But people can still access the old Fate Grand Order emotes that I made on BTTV.
Yeah, and actually that's one of the types of art that we didn't talk about earlier of you have done all your own emotes.
Yes. It was really fun to do. I think it was around the partner celebration too. I was asking everybody in the community. We do get like a limited amount of emotes at first, and usually it's like you work your way up and everything. But I was asking everyone, let's do some ideas for emotes, and we can try to like incorporate like some things that relate both to the channel, but could be fun to use on other channels too.
Do you plan to do anything new since they've just recently announced that there are going to be animated emotes, or do you think you're going to commission that out?
I may commission them, but I know that Twitch had like an option that you can take like your static emotes and then you can add an animation through Twitch. So maybe that's something that we can do. We can take some of the existing ones and we can like add like an animation to them as well. But I'm not opposed to like commissioning other creators to do some fun stuff either. But I feel like I like to make my own stuff too.
Very understandable. And I'm really looking forward to seeing just what cool new things people are able to make now that animated emotes are an option.
Oh gosh, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see the options that a lot of people are going to have on their channels. Oh yes, we.
Yep, Mark there with the animated. That was actually just announced this past week as part of Twitch's 10-year anniversary. It is weird to think that Twitch has been around for 10 years, and it's also weird to think that it's only been around for 10 years.
Yeah, like for like Justin TV, like what it used to be at the beginning, right?
Yeah, that I remember I did a presentation one time about just nerddom and different marketing things, because my background is in marketing, and I pointed to Twitch TV as a major force in gaming marketing. And I remember putting in the stat of that Twitch was about to turn 4. And the fact that it was already huge at that time. So now for me to think that, oh gosh, I made that presentation when Twitch was turning 4 is even more mind-boggling.
Oh my gosh. Twitch is 4. Look at this website. It looks like it's going somewhere.
Well, it was already places at that point, because it had already been bought by Amazon at that point. I think that had happened.
Okay.
Like, or maybe it hadn't. No, I think it had been bought by Amazon like 6 months before.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, it has come a long way from back when Justin TV was a thing. I don't think many people remember that Justin TV was a thing.
Oh, right. Like that. Yeah, that used to be what Twitch was before. I mean, that's where the whole like Kappa thing is for, like the emote, right? Because that was that was the person who ran the website, I think, right? I think it was.
I
Or
believe
one
that
of
was
the
the case.
people.
It was somebody on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to return us back to the main stage for a little bit. So, Fate is, as you mentioned, one of your big mobile games. Do you find that you have a particular playstyle when it comes to that game, or are you just, figure out what is most optimal?
What drew me to Fate Grand Order was the IP, like for the Fate series. I really like the Fate series. I think it's well, I guess with like the Nasu verse, like Fate, Tsukihime, Karno Kyokai, like they're all like intermingled, and I like that about a lot of series. When Fate Go, like, well, when it became a game, I was thinking like, oh shoot, so this is like potential for a lot more story and potential collaboration, like events as well, because Karno Kyokai had like a collab event with it. When it comes to playstyle, I've played it since launch. I I feel like I'm a lot more story focused, but I do understand like what the meta is happening. Like I understand which characters are good. I understand like what kits are good or like which characters to roll for, like when it comes to play game like style. Um, but the other thing too is like it's good to play with your waifus that you like as well.
For sure, and that's half the appeal of it.
Yeah. It was one of the things we brought up during Emu's Gacha cast yesterday because there is going to be a character coming out soon, Nobunaga Avenger. She is like an older version of the Nobunaga character. She has red hair and it's super long, but she's not good. But she
Oh,
looks
that's
cool.
the worst. When they
Yeah,
give a great model and then no stats to back it up.
I think she's probably really good in very like niche scenarios, but she's worse compared to like the other Avengers. So yeah. So I guess it depends like what you want to do, like based on like efficiency.
Yeah.
Right now for North America, the game is all like quick base servants because of usually how it works is like the casters, those are kind of like your heel bitches, I guess. So Scotty is the caster who is supporting a lot of people right now. Merlin is a very good caster for Buster memes. And I guess for right now, Tamamo is our arts caster. But the thing is, though, Artoria caster is going to be coming out maybe in North America, maybe not for a very long time, but she came out in the Japanese servers. I think it was like a few months ago. So it's going to go back to like arts-based meta.
Yeah, and I suppose
there's no I was just gonna say there's no like PvP, I guess, in Fate, but there's still like meta for gameplay wise.
Yeah, and it's particularly interesting since there is the Japanese servers that are, some 6 months ahead of the North American servers, as opposed to having it unified. That I'm familiar with other games that are, unified or are just in North America, and it's the type of thing where you don't know where the meta is going to go. So every time there's a new update or new characters released, people are, experimenting and figuring out, okay, is this character busted? Are they good? Are they bad? Whereas for Fate, you actually have this, premonition or precognition rather of, we know, even if not the exact date, we know that inevitably this is what is coming down the pipeline and in what order it will be coming. So you're even able to sort of prepare for that, of knowing, all right, this character is going to be dropping sometime and they're going to skew the meta in this way. So I'm going to get some of my other servants leveled up and prepared for whenever that happens. That way I can adapt as quickly as possible when they drop.
Exactly. It's just as you said, we know exactly like all the servants that are going to be coming out. We know the story that's going to be coming out, and we know like what banners to roll for, so we already know everything.
Yeah, it creates a very interesting just sub and meta game for the players. And I'm a business nerd. That's part of why I asked earlier, the type of thing of, are you a government employee or are you with a private company? That's not me trying to be invasive. This is how my mind works. Of like I think about how things operate. So I have to wonder that from the business standpoint of like, do they care? Do they have to mitigate for it? Does it mean that, if people aren't experimenting as much, does that mean they're investing less? But then again, I suppose Fate Grand Order is making more than enough money anyways, so if they're losing some amount of margin on the fact that the North American players have this perfect foresight that it's within acceptable enough limits that it isn't going to be a risk to the game because, ooh boy, that game is profitable.
Oh yes, I feel like I said this yesterday on Emu's GachaCast, but the IP definitely carries it. People care about Fate as a series, and also in Japan they have the arcade cabinets as well. So it's still the whole same game, but in an arcade cabinet.
Yeah.
But we know inevitably it's going to end. We know that I guess there's going to be like no more story eventually, but it's still fun. It's still fun. There's a lot to this universe that's very compelling, very interesting.
Yeah. And as you said, you're really into story and narrative in games, and that seems to color a lot of your interests in non-mobile games as well. That you've mentioned that Persona and Devil May Cry are some of your most are some of the ones you're most interested in, and you actually just finished DMC 3 earlier this week and have already moved on to DMC 4. Your choice. What would you like to rant about first, DMC or Persona?
Oh, well, I guess like when it comes to the Persona games, I don't know if I would ever stream them because yeah, they're very long, they're very lengthy. Still really fun, but Persona 3 was my first one. It was the thing that kind of like introduced me to that franchise. I think the thing that's fascinating about Persona is that you get to balance like your everyday kind of life. So you have your social links, you have to hang out with your friends, and you got to level up your social links with your friends to like have some pretty badass Pokemon or like, you know, personas to fight in the dungeon. So it's a little bit of balance, and plus you also have like your stats, so you have to make sure to study and get good grades.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. It's a little bit overwhelming. That Persona 5 was my first one, and
okay.
I have friends who have played the Persona games and the Shin Megami Tensei games for a long time, been trying desperately to get me into it, and I finally took the plunge with 5, and the hype was real there. It is a fantastic game. I played with a guide for all of the social stuff because I was so scared of, I don't want to, lock myself out of something for missing something on the wrong day. And because I'm also very narrative driven, and I know that, all right, once I beat the game and have the main story, I'm not necessarily the completionist that's gonna go back and try and get all of these social links maxed out for the short scenes. So I was okay playing with the guide and made sure to optimize and get all the stuff that I could for the social links, but I played no guide whatsoever when it came to all of the dungeons and the combat and stuff. So that's how I sort of balanced that game out and made sure that I was able to get the most out of the combat, but also the story.
Yeah, funny thing, I also play with a guide for the social links because I also want to see the story to max them out.
It's like, I know I'm getting some stat bonuses as well for it, but that's not even why I care about maxing them out. It's that I want to see this dialogue.
And that's kind of like, yeah, that's where the fun part comes in. And then you get to like date cute girls, and you might get in trouble if you date too many. You maybe not. You never know.
Yes, I kept mine to just one. I romanced Makoto. Captain Carney, thank you for the follow. Who did you romance in 5? And I suppose if you romanced more than one in a single playthrough, who were the multiples?
So funny thing about 5, I don't know if I should get a little bit spoilery, maybe.
I feel like it's been out for long enough that spoilers are okay, that this is not a new game anymore. I
definitely maxed out all the girls, and I want to say the doctor was my favorite Tae. I think she had an interesting story, but I also liked the teacher as well.
Given Tane and who Tane is, this makes perfect sense.
I liked the older woman. I don't know. I think it was nice that there was an option for them. But I think it was around Valentine's Day. All the girls got mad at me, and I was like, okay, this is justifiable. But
you don't actually get punished for it.
No, you don't actually get punished for it because I think I got to actually confess to Tai, and there was like the nice ending
Yeah,
scene.
you still get that.
Very
You just sort of
lovely.
get the gag scene on Valentine's Day.
I just wanted that scene. As for Persona 4, okay, so I played the one for the PlayStation 2, so I didn't play the golden one. I don't know about the extra things in that game. But in Persona 4, it was kind of like free game. Basically, like all the girls were your bitches. Like they didn't get mad. Not really. Like so you got to like max out all of them. So that was kind of cool. um Although the dialogue in the dungeon was very interesting because near the end of the game, if you maxed out all the girls, they start talking with each other if you have them in your party.
Mm.
So I think it was Naoto, and I think it was another girl. I can't remember who the other girl was, but they were like, "Oh, Naoto, why was your sock in like the main character's room?"
Oh my
and she's like,
gosh.
"Oh," and she's like, like it's kind of like those like little things you get to hear in the dungeon.
That the fact that you are dating more than one of them remains canon in the dialogue, and that there's the dynamic selection of what they say to account for that. That's really cool.
So I thought that was actually like a really interesting touch. I don't know if it actually punishes you in the golden or not, if you do max out all the girls. I remember Persona 3 though. I think I chose the main girl and I can't remember her name right now. I do want to romance some of the other ones. I want to romance the senpai. But for Persona 3, it was very clear. You had to romance only one girl and you had to make a choice about it.
Mm.
Let me see here. Persona 3, what was her name again? It was characters. Oh, Mitsuru. Yeah, she's the senpai. I want to romance her next time. Where are you? Yukari, that was her name. Yukari.
Now, one other game. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say she was just kind of like the most like safe one to go with. I was just like, okay, like she's kind of like the vanilla one. It was just like, okay, whatever, I'll take her. But I think if I were to go back and play the game, I'd like to romance Mitsuru. She's basically kind of like an Ojo-sama type senpai.
Yep. Once again, you have your type.
Yeah, all the games are pretty fascinating. I do own 1 and 2. Well, 1 being, I guess, Nocturne, and then 2 being Eternal Punishment. 2 had 2 games, Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment. In North America, only got Eternal Punishment for a while, but then they decided to translate Innocent Sin. I still have not finished those games, and I'd like to go back to finish them eventually.
Goodness knows that is the struggle today as a gamer and an anime fan. You have your list, and it only ever gets longer.
Yeah, the backlog, it gets longer and longer, and especially with Steam games.
Oh yeah.
I feel like a lot of people who ever like buy computer games or just Steam games, I think we all have a problem.
Yeah, I'm mostly a console gamer, so I have fortunately been able to avoid that in large, but even so, even if I don't own all the games I know I want to play, there's that just mental list of, okay, I know I want to play this eventually, and we live in a wonderful age, and it's a bit of an embarrassment of riches because 20 years ago we were all waiting for the next big release because not all the games on the market were that good, and there weren't that many games on the market to begin with. So
it's true.
Now that we're actually living in an age with anime streaming, and there's so many new shows coming out every single season, and just games coming out with not just AAA support, but the fact that we now have a truly flourishing indie scene, and that the barrier to entry for getting content out in the world is lower than ever. It means that we are just simply at a point where you can't consume all the stuff that you want to consume. And like I said, embarrassment of riches, it's way far from where we used to be. And while it kind of sucks that you can't see everything, I'm glad that I like this age versus the previous one.
I feel like we're very spoiled right now. Yes,
absolutely.
I feel like yeah, like when it came to anime or it came to games, it was very hard to get things accessible. Like things are a lot more accessible right now.
Yeah. And also just from the creator standpoint, that if you wanted to make games, it was difficult to get your games to an audience if you didn't have a big publisher behind you. And that's true for both animation and gaming and all these different things. And for TV in particular, there's only so many hours in the broadcast day, but now with streaming, the conventional limit on the amount of shows that can come out in a given year, that limit's just been shattered.
Yes. Oh gosh. There was one more thing I wanted to mention about Persona 3 because okay, Atlas does this thing where they never release DLC. So here's the thing about Persona 3. I've bought it 3 times. I've bought the collector's one. I bought the FES version where you you get to play as Aigis, which is the robot girl. Even though you don't get to date her, she's actually a really good character. So she has her own whole separate story in Persona Fest. And and then there is Persona 3 Portable, where you get to play a girl and you get to date the guys.
Ooh, flipping the script.
Yeah. So there's like options to date the guys, and I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to buy that one. So because it was for like PlayStation 2 and PlayStation Portable, it's like, so they just release new games. They never like put it as DLC, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And then for like, I guess for like Persona 4, there's Persona 4, then there's Golden, and they did the same thing for Persona 5. It's Persona 5 and then the Royal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they know the fans are going to buy it.
Yes. So I have not bought the Royal, but I know I'm going to have to play it eventually.
So there was one other game that you mentioned that you liked, and I am completely unfamiliar with it. It's Tonalico. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation here.
It's okay. I don't know how to pronounce it either.
Well, tell me about it, because you mentioned that this is something that you're really into.
It was a game that I played like on the PlayStation 2. So it's a JRPG. It's a dating sim at the same time, so it's, I guess, quite similar for like Persona in that aspect, but you don't have to worry about like any stats or anything like that. So the girls, they're basically like songcasters. They're like your mages for the party, but they sing songs, and the game has its own language. Which they made their own language, and it's translatable in Japanese, not in English though, but it was very interesting. Like, it's kind of like, I want to say like your typical kind of like, okay, you got your swords guy, you got like your guy with the fist, you got like all these like, well, JRPG characters. But the concept was kind of interesting, where it's like your casters, your healers are like the girls who like sing songs. So they sing the songs like when you're fighting.
So I'm looking this up on Wikipedia right now. It was developed by Banpresto, published by Banpresto, NIS America, Bandai Namco. So if this had come out 5 years later, this would have had a mobile game and an anime, probably.
Oh, probably. I think it has an OVA, but yeah.
Because I'm just glancing at this, and from your initial description, this all just screams, okay, this would have been an idol anime.
It probably would have been. Like, it's rather fascinating as a game, and I feel like it didn't get enough recognition for what it was. I've played 1 and 2. I have the 3rd one, but I haven't finished it yet. It's really interesting. Like, and the girls get more motivated like when you date them. Like, funny enough, but yeah.
Yeah, the first release was in 2006. Last released was 2010. So safe to say that this is a sunset IP, unfortunately, but available for PS2 and 3 if you're able to get your hands on them. The game was just really interesting. Plus, the music, like the OST, the original soundtrack, it was like just really awesome. I listen to it sometimes on stream. I know, like for Twitch, like you can kind of get away with listening to some video game music because they don't because
catch
they can't
it.
tell if you're. But it needs to be okay because they can't detect if you are playing the game or not.
Exactly. I've noticed I've been kind of testing this out. Video game music with vocals, bad.
Yeah.
OST music, good.
The difference there is the rights holders, generally speaking, because if there's vocals, it's usually gonna have some connection to a record label, and it's the record labels that have been cracking down extra hard on DMCA claims. By and large, the developers of the games themselves are not going to be paying attention to their soundtracks, so I think your observation is probably completely correct, and that's at least my best guess at the back end reasoning.
It's probably not the best thing to do, but I feel like it's a lot more comforting to listen to like video game music while doing art instead of just copyright loops over and over again.
For sure, yeah. I'm a big gaming OST fan. Outside of the games that you've already mentioned, do you have any particular favorite soundtracks, regardless of how you feel about the games themselves?
Good question. Because one of the reasons why I wanted to play Devil May Cry 3 again is because I was listening to the OST again. Funny thing about Art and Elico, I feel like looking at like the graphics, I feel like it could have been on like PlayStation because they're all sprites, like the first PlayStation. Let's see, for video game music, well, the Persona soundtracks are banging.
Oh, for sure.
They're banging. Oh yeah, they're great. Well, I guess it's like the same with Catherine because it's like the same people that worked on Persona as well. Atlas does amazing work. Let me check here. I'm gonna check my music folder.
Easy go-to right there.
Yeah. I think those ones. Well, I have a few like anime ones on it. Oh gosh, you know what? The Dot Hack games. Oh,
Ooh.
yes.
Well,
Those
there
ones are
once again
good.
you have the intersection of gaming and anime.
Yes. The Dot Hack. I have the Dot Hack GU soundtracks. Oh, those ones are really good because for the starting zones, you have like the daytime, evening, and nighttime sounds. So those ones are really nice too. Even just like the menu screen for the world, it sounds really nice.
Yeah, that I have not seen Dot Hack, but I've heard bits and pieces of the soundtrack just out and about. And yeah, that one is really good. I think some of my favorites outside of some of the standards, you know, Legend of Zelda, great soundtrack.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Some of my more niche favorites, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Professor Layton series at all.
Ah, yes.
Just great puzzle games, and this really rustic might be the best term that I can think of it for a soundtrack, that just the instrumentation for it is a lot different, that you have a lot of accordion in there, a lot of just sort of bells and very light sounds, but then you also have the occasional big climactic orchestral pieces in there. And then my other big one that I consider to be supremely underrated is anything in Soul Calibur.
Oh, nice. That's good too.
Yeah,
nice options.
It's this weird thing with Soul Calibur that I can't really hum anything out of it. There's nothing super iconic with it, but if you bring up like the Soul Calibur 3 soundtrack, it's just really good. And especially if you're looking for something to have in the background that's just, you know, it's intense at some points, quieter at others. It hits a good diversity of tracks, and a lot of it is just very powerful. That's one of my go-tos.
Oh, nice. I feel like video game music is interesting because it's supposed to keep you like very concentrated, right? It's very helpful when listening to video game music when you're working on art as well.
Yeah. Now, for anime, I know we've already mentioned a lot. There were two that you talked to me about earlier this week that I'm completely unfamiliar with. There's Neruko Supernatural Detective and Kanazuki no Miko. You can have your choice of which one would you like to educate me on.
Well, you know what? Since we're in Pride Month, I'll talk about Kanazuki no Miko because I feel like that one's really interesting. I feel like that was kind of like one of the ones that kind of like made me realize about like my sexuality as well. The main character is like bisexual, so she dates like a guy for a while, then she ultimately like gets with her girlfriend in the end, her honey. It is Yuri Mecha.
Huh.
It's I want to say it's like not maybe like the greatest story. It's kind of like, I want to say it's a little bit trashy when it comes to anime taste, but it's good. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Looking it up, this was from like, 2004, so you also have to sort of take
like,
era into consideration.
It's not the best thing ever, but it was doing something different, I'd say, for like around that time though. Basically the girls, so you have like everyday normal girl, and she's secretly friends with this Ojo-sama. She's secretly like friends with her, and they basically go eat lunch in the garden. But the anime and the manga have like slight variations though. So they're basically like secret friends. Then they figure out that they're reincarnations of shrine maidens, and they have to defeat the Orochi, which are seven mechas.
Now,
So
Orochi, if memory
basically,
serves, is snake.
yeah.
So are these snake
Mhm.
mechas, or is it name only?
And it's name only, so basically it's kind of like a seven. Well, I guess for Orochi, it's like a seven-headed snake, right, or something like
Okay,
that.
okay.
So they have to defeat seven mechas, who are evil mechas, who basically want to bring forth like chaos and bad things, basically. But we do find out that the villains have like their sad stories too, like at the end when they get defeated and like that kind of thing. So basically, the Shrine Maidens have to purify the mechas. But one of the Orochi, he's basically kind of like the good guy. He like went rogue and he's like, okay, because I'm basically dating one of the Shrine Maidens, I will fight against them. So the main character is kind of in an awkward position where the guy who went rogue to kind of like protect them, she's dating him, but also she has lots of girly feelings for her best friend.
Ooh, now, so is there... This is from 2004, so once again,
Yeah.
statute of limitations for spoilers long past. Is there then the about face of the guy who betrayed his fellows because he was dating the girl when she then wound up with her friend?
So basically, this is kind of like spoiler territory, but one of the Orochi actually happens to be one of the Shrine Maidens because she gets furious that she was dating one of the guys, or well, sorry, the guy that was protecting her.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's like kind of like a twist there. She's like, "How dare you date him when I want you?" And she's like, "What? You wanted to date? Like you wanted to be together?" And she's like, "Yes, I wanted to be with you. I love you." And she's like, "What?" So, and bad things happen, but then ultimately it's kind of like a bittersweet ending at the very end.
Now, it's only a 12-episode series, if I'm reading this right, so it is actually pretty contained.
Yeah, it's its own story. And for the manga, there's only 3 volumes.
Okay, so, and does it reach a complete and satisfying conclusion?
So it does. But it's basically saying that they're going to be reincarnated forever and ever, like bound to the same fate.
All right, well, that's
Yeah.
fine that, saying, all right, this cycle will continue, but that these characters' stories is still brought to a satisfying conclusion in that short
Yeah,
span.
funny thing, it actually has like a spin-off, and the characters are reincarnated in that spin-off too.
Mm.
Let me
Legend
see
of
here, what was
Zelda,
it called
but
again?
anime.
Yeah, basically. Oh shoot, I'm trying to remember what it was called again. Oh no.
Looking at
Let
the
me see. I'm
Wikipedia,
gonna Google it.
Yep, same. Sira is do.
It had a completely different English title, so I'm trying to remember what it was. But I remember the characters, they have like kind of variations of their names. So Himiko turns into Himiko, and then Chikane turns into Kanon, I think, for like their reincarnated forms.
So you still have that sort of thread of consistency to make it feel like, yes, these are reincarnations, that this cycle is continuing. That's interesting, and it says that Sentai Filmworks has the rights, so I don't know if that means it is actively available right now on High Dive, would be their streaming service, but that is my guess. Actually, I can check that out.
I found it. It's called Hiroshiro Totoa no Sora, but it's a completely different story. It's basically like a girl-guy love story. But the two girl characters from the previous series are still in there. And then I know they actually have more. Okay, this is the funny thing though. I learned later that the people who did those series before, they've done Dojin with the girls, so they like drawing the two characters like over and over again. So they also have like another manga series with those two girls, I think too. But I don't know if it got a translation. Well, not an official translation though. But so I think they have like a third manga series with the same two girls.
Wow, spinning into this full-on universe here.
Yeah, it has like its own like little thing. I like let me see the circle name. Just a minute. Kaishaku. They have like a lot of Dojin and stuff too. They did like some Ragnarok Online Dojin of like the same two girls, which is kind of funny.
And I found it so it was released in North America under the title Destiny of the Shrine Maiden, and it is indeed available on both High Dive and Verve, at least for those who are in the U.S. For Canada, because I know the rights are different there. Shrine.
I think
it is not available in Canada currently because, sadly, just licensing rights are weird regardless of industry and regardless of medium. Licensing rights for anime are super weird, and it does often result in Canada getting shafted.
I remember at the time when I bought the DVDs, though, I think it was Geneon. Yeah, had it.
Well, Geneon went under in 2012, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, I'm aware of like all the ones that went under, like ADV and like all the
Oh yeah. I could do like a TED Talk seminar on so here's the history of anime licensing, the rise and fall of certain ones, who picked up their titles, and how we got to where we are today, because it's a really interesting progression, and you can see different strategies. I mentioned that I'm very business oriented and I'm fascinated by this type of thing of just, you had, especially back in the day, there were some companies that just started picking up every single license they could because it was sort of the anime gold rush, and they were effectively betting on penny stocks of, we will shell out the money to get the rights to as many shows as we can, and if 1 in 10 hits and makes it big, then we should be able to make our money back. And they overextended themselves and it buried them. And that is how then you see Geneon shutting down, and then their titles get scattered to the wind. Funimation picked up a good chunk of their catalog, but others didn't.
I remember that. And Funimation picked up like a lot of things.
Whereas then
I guess it's because like they had their streaming service, right?
Yeah, because that was early dawn of streaming. I don't think that... Actually, yeah, because their streaming service debuted somewhere in 2014, if memory serves. That was some Wild West stuff back then.
Oh, definitely. Oh gosh. So the other one, I don't know if I have time to talk about it, but Majin Tantai Nugami Nero, or Supernatural Evil Detective Nugami Nero, however the English one was called. Same person, same mangaka that did Assassination Classroom, but Nero didn't get as popular as Assassination Classroom, though. Funny thing, so basically he's like a demon from hell, and he likes to eat mysteries. So he ate all of the mysteries in hell, so he noticed that Earth has a lot of mysteries. So he finds this one girl, and he's like, you're going to become a detective, but I'll solve the mysteries, but you're going to be my front.
Huh.
So they create a detective agency, and she's just like, oh my god, I just want to like eat food, and I just want to go to school. And he's like, no, we have to go solve this mystery like right now. There's I don't know if there's like any he's basically like forcing her to. I don't know, it's just kind of like it's an interesting dynamic. Yeah.
Sounds like, and I like a good mystery, but this one sounds like a sort of half comedy, half mystery, just from the way that the characters are interacting, that if that is the basis of their relationship, it can't be entirely serious, at least.
Yeah, basically how it is like they have like a parallel, because like they did it like more so in the anime, but like she loves to eat food. So he's like, well, he's like, well, I like to eat mystery, so I have to eat. And she's like, oh, okay, well, since I know that you like to eat so much, like I'll help you.
Oh yeah, sort of sympathy there.
So in the anime, they kind of had to like draw it to a close like when they got to like one of the main villains, but the manga went a little bit more battle-y like near the end, because it's like Shonen Jump.
Of course.
So they had like these like major mystery people like at the very end of the manga, but overall it was pretty interesting. It was kind of like just like a monster of the week, like, oh, let's solve this mystery. But basically what Nero does, though, he forces people to do what he wants because he's a demon. So what they do is they created a detective agency, and he forced somebody from the Yakuza to like be like one of their underlings. And he's like, no. And he's like, no, like I'm a Yakuza, like I don't work for you. He's like,
you do now, like, I'm a demon.
You do now. Yeah, he's a demon, so you have to listen.
Goodness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's interesting. One of the other people that work for their detective agency, there was a person who was buried in the wall or something like that. So there's like a little braided hair strand who's like their receptionist, but he um brought her back to life, but it's basically just like a little hair strand that like types and like does things for them. So that's the secretary.
so it's this. It's a disembodied hair strand that is.
It's kind of weird to think about, but he resurrected a girl that was like buried in the wall of like their detective agency, and her hair strand is the one that
Sounds
like does like
cousin It from Addams Family.
yeah, basically, yeah. But the art is really like surreal. I know like some of like, well, the character art itself is kind of, I want to say is like okay, but it's like the surreal art, like when it comes to like the mystery solving and stuff, and like they get kind of like a little bit more into like, I guess, philosophical thinking. Like they kind of like have a lot of monologues and stuff, and then it just gets like really wacky with like the surreal art.
Yeah. You mentioned that this is by the mangaka who did Assassination Classroom, which is a series that I thoroughly enjoyed, and you can see the influences there. It's definitely not a one-to-one. Sometimes you have a mangaka who you can just at a glance tell, oh, it's their work because they have a very set style. This one is similar, that if you're looking for the similarities, you can see it, but it is not the same.
Yeah. I feel like when he did Assassination Classroom, the art got a lot better though.
Probably. That
Yeah.
funding might have had something to do with it.
Oh, that too. Yeah. But overall, the series was really interesting. You definitely get to see things from like the villain's like perspective for like when he solves the mysteries and stuff. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, yeah, you get to sympathize with the people who like did wrong and stuff, but they have their reasons and like that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's always fun when you're able to see everything unfold, but also get some of the backstory of, all right, not just how did this happen, but why did it happen?
And I believe, I can't remember. I think it's one of the guys who's a part of like, oh yeah, the police guy, or
you always need the police representative.
Yeah, he's kind of like looking at the girl like, oh, are you really like a detective, or is there something more happening? Like that kind
the detective who's always outdone by the genius, but is smart enough to realize there's something not quite right.
And it's quite interesting. Not really too much of a big spoiler, but for the manga, like, okay, so Yako is like 16 throughout the whole series for like anime and manga, but then at the very end of the manga, she's 19 and she does become a detective. So.
Oh, that's nice that you end up seeing her being able to grow into her own there.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So we've been at this now for 2 hours, and I don't want to keep you too long because I know it is a school night, and since, as you mentioned, you are not bound by normal summer vacation, that there's always going to be people who are immigrating to Canada for one reason or another, that you do have school tomorrow. So
Yes.
before we go, I just have a couple last questions. The first is, what is your favorite meal? And that can be, something special, something homemade. It doesn't even need to be something that you would want to eat every day, but what is just, the go-to meal of if you could have anything that you just absolutely love it?
Oh, okay, sounds good. Well, when I am not consuming souls as a succubus, I like tacos, because they're really yummy and they're pretty easy to make. But I also really like sushi. I like sushi too. I really, really like seafood. I don't really get a lot of opportunities to eat seafood, and I'll take it like when I'm able to. And sushi is really, really delicious, and there's lots of different types of sushi out there.
Any favorite types of rolls?
I think there's one that's called like a dynamite roll. There's like a red dragon one. I don't know. There's like a few other.
I suppose, names aside, what do you usually, what are your favorite things to have in your rolls?
I think depending how they make it, like I love salmon, I love crab, imitation crab is good too. I like avocado. Eel. Eel is really good because usually eel is hard to get a hold of and it's very expensive. Because every time when I try to order unagi eel, they're usually sold out.
Yeah, and especially, I suppose, depending on where you are in Canada, that if you're particularly landlocked, and that's going to be opposite side of the world from Japan, so probably more difficult to get eel. But yes, my first time actually having eel was in sushi, and it's a very different taste for sure. And I'm a big seafood fan. I grew up in Maryland. I am a crab snob. I don't begrudge you for liking imitation crab because, if you can't get your hands on the real thing, imitation crab is still good. But if you have the chance to go to Maryland and actually get proper Maryland blue crabs, there's a reason why there is a stereotype behind them. And I'm a snob in saying that they're the best out there, but I'm not going to be such a snob to say any crab that isn't Maryland blue isn't worth eating, because crabs that aren't Maryland blue, regardless of what type, are always worth eating. Crab's awesome.
Oh gosh, I will say that, like, eating real crab and like eating lobster, like I don't have it all the time. Like it's a very, very special occasion.
For
But
sure.
oh gosh, crab and lobster, it's great. It's amazing.
Yes. Do you drink tea, coffee, both or neither? And if so, how do you take them?
Ooh, so I do love tea. I am a tea person. There is this one place in Canada called David's Tea, and you can get lots of like good points, and I really like to buy from them. Unfortunately, with around like COVID, they closed a lot of like their in-store stuff. But I think you can still buy a lot of it online. I love tea. I love all different types of tea. I do like the taste of coffee, and I do like coffee, but because I don't drink it a lot, it gives me really bad headaches. Maybe if I drank a lot of caffeine, like, then I think it would be fine. But it sucks because I do like the taste of coffee.
I'm the type that I love the smell of coffee, can't stand the taste.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I've had, frappuccinos when they're loaded with milk and sugar, but even I know it can barely be called coffee at that point.
Oh yeah. I mean, even like with like frappuccinos and like lattes and stuff, like I love to drink those because it does have like a lot of like milk and stuff and stuff in it. But tea is like really nice and comforting. Yeah, and I feel like just with tea, there's so much to explore.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
What are your goals for 2021? You've hit partner. What is next?
Oh gosh, I made a list for myself. I don't know if I can accomplish a lot of them, but let me maybe if I can try to pull it up if I can find it. I think, well, I know one of them is I want to draw my own live 2D character. So what you're seeing here is like a 3D avatar.
Yeah.
I want to draw my own live 2D character because it takes a lot of work, and I really respect all the people who draw their own. It's a very lengthy process. There's a lot of layers to it, and I really respect the people who rig the whole art asset as well. So drawing a live 2D character would be really, really good. I would like that. Let's see here. I would like to learn more language. I want to be able to converse in Japanese. I don't know if it's going to be happening this year, but I want to get better with speaking it and reading it. Let's see. I want to try to remember a lot of French because I did grow up in a French, like going to French immersion school, but then I was put in English after, so I never got to practice French a lot. So I would like to try to relearn French. As much as I could. Oh, that's so funny. I put Twitch partnership on here, so I guess that did happen. Yay! I'm so happy that happened. Let me see here. So language 2D arts. I don't know if this is going to happen maybe not this year, but maybe 2022. I would like to go back to Japan. I think that would be fun for like leisure travel.
Yeah, I've never been, but that's always been very, very high up, and just also being able to learn Japanese. That I taught myself all of the katakana and the hiragana, but I've not been able to venture deeper than that, but that's my personal big goal for probably beyond 2021, but definitely a shared
Nice,
goal
nice.
there for sure.
I feel like, and that's the thing, like with katakana and hiragana, that's like the easy part there
Yeah, no, it's
because
the kanji that are
yeah.
scary.
Oh, the kanji are very scary because I actually that's one of the things I'd like to take the Japanese language proficiency test. I would like to get to maybe JLPT level 3. A lifetime goal would probably be 2, but that's like business talk.
Mhm.
But that would be pretty interesting to do. But mm, I would say I don't know if it's possible for this year, but going full-time art freelance and maybe possibly full-time like doing art and Twitch, because I know it's scary to invest something like all in like one place.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whoop.
hello. I know that it's you don't want to keep like all your eggs in one basket, but I would like to do like art commissions and things, but also like do Twitch as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely
To do
some
like
very
yeah.
good goals that even if you're not able to get them all this year, because it's weird to think that we're already in June. But
Oh, it is weird. We're already halfway through the year. Also starting a YouTube channel for ASMR because I think that'd be really fun. Including that in there too. Yes.
definitely. And the last big question that I always ask my guests, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
Oh. I feel that I'm maybe still trying to figure that out, but I would like to hope that everybody is entertained with what they see, maybe visually. I hope that everyone's entertained with maybe what I can do creatively. What does it mean to be a VTuber? Maybe for advice for other up and coming VTubers or aspiring VTubers?
More so
or...
what it means to you than like having this outlet, this platform for just entertainment for yourself and creatively. What is all this to you as the person who is, taking on all of this, I suppose?
I feel like it's a very interesting way to do entertainment, to do things creatively, to have a creative outlet, and just like how I mentioned before, to have like that set of privacy as well, because this is something that maybe some people can talk about, or like you can walk down the street and you don't know who a VTuber is. You
Yeah.
don't know like what that person is maybe doing, or so I feel like I can have maybe like my normie life, but then I get to enjoy talking with everybody. I get to enjoy talking about anime and manga, games, music, art, and meeting a lot of people, meeting a lot of creative people. There are so many creative VTubers out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd be lying if I didn't say that a good portion of me wanting to start this show is the admittedly selfish desire to, meet more creative people, because I realized very quickly that I'm not the type that would be able to be a good VTuber. I don't have the time that I can dedicate to a streaming schedule, and I don't think I have anything that I could offer that would be unique. But for me, I realized I at least like to think that I'm pretty good at talking and asking some occasionally okay questions, and that's sort of how this all came about.
Oh, yes. I feel like everybody has like their own thing that they want to do, and they I feel like it's interesting what you're doing. You're showcasing what everybody else is showing like what they can do as well, right?
Yeah,
So
and I know there's a lot of interviewers out there. I know I'm far from the biggest, and one of the things that I was sort of relieved about very early on is that I realized that I like to think pretty unique in the way I run my interviews in the show. Of just, I guess, I like to think that I'm good at sometimes pulling some more interest than average out of the guests, and hopefully you've enjoyed yourself tonight. That I think I was able to get you on a good number of rants. I feel like we had some awesome banter, and just as a whole, this has been just totally delightful, and I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed yourself as well, Tane.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like what you did, like maybe like compared to like what other people do, I feel like we got to have like a very, very nice discussion. I feel like this is not a critique on like anybody else, but I know like when it comes to like Twitch stuff and when it comes to like maybe keeping up with like Twitch lingo and things like that. Things are very like memey, like if I don't know if that makes sense,
No,
but like
it makes sense.
yeah.
That there's the jargon.
Yeah, or there's a lot of I don't know how to say it, like not like non things that kind of just happen on Twitch. There's there's still like I want to say like fun things, but there's like a lot of like sheesh moments and like that kind of keeping up with kind of like the Twitch culture, like that kind of stuff. But it was really very comforting to have like a nice like discussion.
Well, I'm so glad you enjoyed yourself, and hopefully everyone in the chat did as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Tane, I've dropped your links in the chat a couple times. I'll do that once more. Is there anything that you want to promote before we go?
Let me see here. Be kind to everybody. Make sure to maybe just check in on your family and your friends. Be there for somebody, but also take care of yourself. For maybe like a sending off message. If you would like to check out my art, Vtuber Talk has provided my links. Check me out on Twitch and check out my Pixiv and any of my other socials for artwork. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, it was absolutely my pleasure. So for the folks who are here for the live show, I'm going to be sending you over to Brie at Cookie Box once all this is done. But as I mentioned earlier, thank you so much for tuning in. This is VTuber Talk. I'm Jay. She's Tane Tenshi. And I hope you will all, support her, support me, support VTubers everywhere you find them, because there is a great big community out here and a lot of incredible creators. If you'd like, follow me here on Twitter to find out when my next interviews are and who I'll be interviewing. But regardless, thank you for being here now. And until next time, have a good day, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.